Still not gone through that damn gate. She's still thinking about it. How about you? You guys ready to go through the gate? I know you are. Y'all ain't scared. All right. So, welcome in Monday Madness, as per usual. Happens on a Monday. And my guest is usually this wonderful cuddly bear that's about to come on here now. This is one of the busiest men in the business. If you don't know Steve Stockton, he's got autographed books of every kind. I mean, wonderful stories. He can take you to the Appalachian Mountains. He can take you to a dark cave off of one of those mountains. He can introduce you to some granny witches, maybe some big feats, maybe some tall tales, some flying coffins, or you can see him in my book. He comes behind my chapters and talks about what that chapter reminded him of, and the reason he could do that is he's got so many stories. So I say that he is the keeper of tales and the teller of stories, and he is my friend. Welcome in, Mr. Steve Stockton. You ready? Well, if you ain't ready, you're in trouble, I guess, because here you go.
Hey, hello.
There he is. Hello. How you doing, sweetie? All right. You are the busiest man I just know out there. Now, listen, if Cat's
I'm the
out
hardest
there,
working man in whatever business this is.
whatever it is.
They used to say James
on this
Brown
side
was
of
the
the law.
hardest working man in show business, but I don't consider this show business. But
right,
I'm working hard.
So you two, the inner tubes. But anyway,
I thought about something there. Did you have a clip of Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers there?
Yep.
You know something amazing? Every step Fred took,
I
Ginger did the same thing.
In heels, baby.
Wearing high heels. Now, who's the pro? Who's the dancer there?
That's what I'm saying. We've been doing that for all along. Listen, Donna Reed had it all together. And her husband would come home in the slippers and put the sweater on and get the newspaper, all rolled up, hear how the kids did, see the report cards.
She had her own show, the Donna
dinner
Reed show.
Dinner cooking. You smell the good dinner cooking, everything in its place. Not a piece of lint to be found.
Not a hair out of place.
I'm telling you. Looking good too, having it, did it in a girdle. Yep. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I guess every generation's got its
girdle
lunacy.
And a Playtex cross your heart bra, no doubt.
Amen. 12 hours.
Hold that hair in place with Aquanet.
Aquanet, or an actual hair net. Now, when was the last time you saw one of those? Now, the only time I ever see hair nets is if you go to the Chipotle's or you go down there to that Chili's and they got them around their beards. All the young guys are wearing them around their beards.
Around the beards here. Maybe I should try that.
It sure has changed. Literally went from the top of people's heads to the front of their faces. I don't get it. In my lifetime and yours.
Hey,
so what do we
Vixen Doe, hey, how you doing? Aunt Edna, long time no see.
How you doing? Nice, hey, Bernice.
Bernice is here.
Jennifer. Uncommon. Hey, babe.
Jennifer, yeah. Missing person. Who
Lindsay's got cracked ribs and black-eyed peas, I think she said. What was it? It was
black-eyed peas.
That's Roadhouse. When dinner and a show, dinner and a movie. The night they had Roadhouse, dinner and a movie had cracked ribs and black-eyed peas. It was the best pairing of food in a movie I've ever heard.
I thought she got beat up in a bar fight or something.
I don't know if it's possible.
Hey, Gray Wolf.
Were you breaking up some kind of a bar fight or something, Lindsay? I bet she did. She's like me and Aunt Edna. She ain't gonna have it.
Callie Snyder's here. How you doing, Callie?
Callie.
If I missed anybody, it wasn't on purpose. Well, Uncommon Belief 21.
I haven't seen Ted here in a minute. I haven't seen Ted, but I'm sure that he's got to get up early. It's very late out there where Ted is. Hey, Joe, welcome in. I believe we are talking about Fatty Arbuckle tonight, so you're in luck.
1:11 in the morning where Ted's at, so he may not be in tonight, or maybe that new dog kept him up.
Could be little Connor, our new little gatekeeper. So, just to get some house cleaning stuff. I was saying about how busy Steve is. Steve has multiple YouTube channels, if you don't know it, several of them based around missing people, among the missing and missing persons.
Mysteries.
Mysteries. And I've had mysteries and scandals all day long, so forgive me. I'm a little slap happy. And you've got the you've got the radio show. The radio show.
Got everything out there on the Clyde Lewis Ground Zero Radio Network.
There you go.
Catch it Sunday nights from 9 to 11 p.m. Or you can go watch the replay anytime.
Blessings from above. Welcome in. So, again, for some housekeeping, if you wouldn't mind, listen, I've got a wackadoo YouTube channel. So what's wrong with the YouTube channel? I did some analytics on it. You know, aside from me being an acquired taste, we all understand that. But what I do is I put what the hell I want up on my channel, so that confuses the algorithm and they don't know who to recommend it to. So I really need your help. Please hit the thumbs up. You know, we might have 200 views, 300 views, whatever. Listen, I'm not one of those people. I care about the people that watched it, liked it, got something from it, enjoyed it, smiled, laughed, giggled, felt better. That's what I care about. Ask Steve. I'm not, that's the truth, is it not, Steve?
No, that's the truth. Whatever she said.
And but I would appreciate it if you hit the like, because it really does.
And come back after the show and leave a comment. That helps
Please
too.
Please do. And subscribe if you're not a subscriber, because I mean, what's it going to hurt? Doesn't cost a thing. Hit the button, subscribe, just let it sit there. Help a girl out. I appreciate it.
If you subscribe and you don't like it, Cisco will give you double your money back.
Double your money back.
Double your bacon back.
Or exchange it for size, the next size up.
Yeah.
You can do that. We can try that for a while, but if you just want your money back, I'll give you your money back. But please hit the button, and that helps us out a lot, because here's the deal. On this show, just like I had Katie Turner here last night, Steve, I don't have everybody, and that doesn't mean I didn't disagree or whatever. That's not it. The thing is I kind of let the guides do it. So you'll ask Steve. Most time he didn't have a daggum clue what he's going to talk about till about noon.
No idea, and sometimes not even then. So
right,
I'll message you, say, "What are we drawing about tonight?" I don't know. What do you reckon? And we'll come up with something.
What do you reckon? So, but the thing is like, what do we need to do? So sometimes it's like that, and sometimes it's deep research, like Elliot Ness, which, Lord God, that was
at least with these old Hollywood tales, we won't off anybody in the process of talking about them, because
let's hope so. Anyhow,
yeah.
I mean, no guarantees.
There
people,
may be
disclaimer
a few still around, but
disclaimer.
A lot of times, if we talk about somebody by the next show, the next Monday, they've passed
Something's
away.
Happened.
Isn't that weird? That's happened on more.
I'll never forgive myself for often meatloaf.
Yeah.
That one got to me. The iceberg. I wasn't too happy about the iceberg. I don't go around singing icebergs to people.
But doggone, we cannot get rid of
Yoko. She's dug in. She dug in like a tick. Dug in like a tick, Steve.
We got her out of the Dakota, but that's as far as we could get her.
Well, push a little harder, I guess. I don't know. We won't give up, right, chat? So anyway, please do that. What did I want to tell you? The thumbs up, the comments, please do it. I realize that you can't share it to everybody, but that's what I've done, Steve, is I've put up old radio mysteries. I put up old ghost stories, beautiful music, and
CBS radio theater with E.G. Marshall.
And they don't know who to recommend it, so they just don't. And half the time the people that are subscribed
to everybody, and then
they don't get notifications, so they don't know we're here.
Yeah, what's the deal with that?
Listen, my entire lifetime has been uphill both ways, barefoot in the snow, with a storm coming. Do you understand what I'm saying? And I don't know where I am, got turned around, broken compass, it's just whacking it and hacking it out of the wilderness along the way with a dull machete. That's just how it's been. And you know what? I'm better for it. So why should this be any different,
That
Steve?
which does not kill us shall surely make us stronger.
Warriors unite. So anyhow, cut a girl a break and hit the thumbs up. Thank you very much. So that's that. Now, if any of my mods would please find Mr. Stockton's link tree, because Lord have mercy, how many links you got now?
20, actually,
you're like the janitor with all the keys.
Yeah, I need to update that link tree, so you probably don't want to share that out right now. It doesn't have all my latest stuff in there.
Because you've got autographed books. I don't want people to miss it.
Autographed books on the Etsy shop.
Stories.
I've got 3 podcasts, Midnight Mailbox, Among the Missing Stuff, and Ain't That Some Shit? It's then kind of a new take on Paul Harvey, kind of a modern twist on Paul Harvey.
Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, literally hundreds and hundreds of episodes on missing people, professionally done, professionally produced. Not like this, this is like a Jersey dumpster over here sometimes. But, it's like the Hot Mess Express. Look, you get what you pay for. You know what I'm saying?
And thanks to everybody that's coming back over to Missing Person Mystery, since that's my channel now. I appreciate it.
Isn't that nice?
All the good words.
Lovely how
We
karma
missed
works.
you, Steve. We unsubscribed when you were gone. We'll come back and subscribe.
You got to
again.
get that, and a lot of people listen to it like the ASMR kind of genre, and they get comfortable with and there's a lot to that. I used to listen to the History Channel. Silly man. The History Channel all the time because they had the greatest narrators with the voices that just were in that vibration, that frequency where it was calming to me to have in the background.
I've been watching
History Channel.
Unsealed UFO Files. John B. Wells. I like his voice.
His voice is great, man. I had a lovely conversation with John B. Wells.
Robert Stack. We've gone to sleep a lot of nights listening to.
Have you ever got
mysteries
to talk to him? To John, you've been on the show or had a conversation with him?
I need to go over there and be on. I've been on everything else. I've been on
lovely man to talk to
with George Snorri or whatever his name is, and
when I had a family member, you remember that?
Turn up everywhere. Yeah,
you remember that, don't you?
Yeah, I've been on his show, and I think he's coming back, isn't he?
Yeah. I'm pushing it. Come on, man. Just get it out there.
There you go, William Meslick. It's your it's your duty
as a like button. Thank you so much.
Citizen of the world to hit
doesn't
the like
cost
button.
The thing. Doesn't hurt. It's not even a little pinch. It's not even like what do they tell you? It's like just a prick of a needle. And I'm like, I don't know why anybody ever thought that would be a common phrase.
It's only going to hurt a little bit.
Yeah.
Glenn Danison's here.
Yep.
Glenn, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you.
So Glenn, you're going to enjoy this. I know a lot of people.
Glenn is our resident polymath. He knows a lot about a lot of different things.
Yeah. So that's that. All right. That's that. And I wanted to give out your link tree if we've got it, even if it's not everything, let's get a hold of it, gets people over there and listen. And if you have a channel or you have a website where you're selling your craft, you're an artisan or something like that, go ahead and put it up. Mods help out with that. And I wanted to say thanks to the mods for last night for being there and keeping the chat chill, keeping it on topic. It gets real distracting when you have a guest and they're reading the chat and somebody, is just going off and they're having, look, there's one way to have a conversation like that. And that's great. I encourage that. But it's when people are like stirring up.
That happens sometimes. You get somebody that comes in, they having their own show in the comments. That's not the way it's supposed to work. Just
calm them down and and if that doesn't work, take them out and
please no wagering.
Listen, for everybody in the chat that's having a good time and they're chilling and they're shedding off their damn day and their week and whatever is outside, this is a chance to escape for just a little bit for 2 hours and laugh and have a little funny honey or eat some brownies with a little something in it or
nice,
have you iced coffee
tonight. How about that?
Unsolicited, unprovoked advertisement for Dunkin' Donuts coffee.
On a first name basis with them there. You can't really see it.
Yep, they know him by name. They call him Steve.
Yep.
It's gonna be a night, Steve. I feel it. Can you feel it?
I feel it. There's something in the air tonight.
It's gonna be. I found so many things making these videos, put these little things together, and I'm like, Steve is gonna love this. Steve is gonna love this. This is hysterical.
There's just so many.
There's a W.C. Fields in here that's what he was famous for. It was like, look, the guy was a jerk, but he made it work, And he was famous for hating kids and dogs, animals and kids. He hated them. And that was his persona.
Somebody asked him once, Mr. Fields, how do you like children? And he replied, do you know it's
with ketchup?
Boiled.
With ketchup? Boiled. I was going to say with ketchup.
And then on his gravestone, it says, on the whole, I'd rather be in Philadelphia.
He would say that was one of his things.
He's a
just like Mae West. He had a thing with Mae West, like a feud. And, they turned that into, I don't know how many different movies they did together. Good old Mae West. And she was an acquired taste as well, but she was one that didn't take a lot of crap. I mean, she took a lot of stuff when she was younger and she came up and says, look, and she was a fantastic businesswoman. But some of these stars, you think of it today, it's such a debauchery and such craziness today. And then you go back and we do shows from like 100 years ago with Lon Chaney.
Just as bad back then, but the studio system kept it under wraps.
Better. They hit it better. I mean, they put poor Rock Hudson through hoops. I mean, it was about to come out that he was gay, and his publicist made him marry the guy's secretary. They stayed married for 3 years just to cover up. They did the same type of stuff to Doris Day and everybody else. When you got your picture taken with somebody and it was on a magazine, they damn sure made sure who you got your picture taken with. I mean, it was all, just as contrived and dirty trick riddled as it is now. But, and, I think now more so, and there was some really dark stuff going on there too. Don't kid yourself. I mean, Charlie Chaplin, how many times he married? 7? Every single one of them, I think, was under the age of 16, weren't they? And then he had a slew of kids. And I think the last group of kids, the last bunch of kids he had was, I think he was in his 70s, when almost 80, wasn't he?
My kind of guy.
But it's the way they said it, like
not the other
who was stuff, the piano player, the one who married his 13-year-old cousin?
Jerry Lee Lewis.
Okay, they took a lot of crap for that. They put up with a lot of bad publicity over that, and he couldn't understand it. It was like, that's crazy.
He's from Louisiana. That's kind of commonplace down there, from what I understood back in the day.
13, and so did Elvis. Look at how old was Priscilla when they got together, 13.
Yeah, my great-grandmother got married when she was 13 years old to a man like 27 or something. That's just the way they used to do things. You married a very young bride and they gave you lots and lots of kids.
Man. So, you consider that scandal, but then we did episode about a year or so back. We did, was it Earl Flynn?
Yeah,
who was crazy, had that. Oh my gosh. And you used to look,
read his autobiography, My Wicked, Wicked Ways. And that's the stuff he'll admit to.
Yeah, yeah. And he would have dinner parties, and on the wall, he'd have a big screen, and he would show things like whales mating, jungle animals mating and stuff like that, and just try to get the reaction from the people in the party and stuff. That's just a special kind of screwed up, isn't it, Steve? I mean, think about it. And he's doing, you got some psychopath in there. Now he was caught up in several different, where he forced his person upon someone who did not want it at a young age. I mean, several. I mean, I think at one time he was sitting in a courtroom. There was three to, or was it 6? I can't even remember anymore. There's so many of them sitting in the courtroom accusing him.
That I hope we get to talk about tonight is Mary Miles Minter and that whole story.
Wow. You'll have to tell us. I don't have that one. I have ones that I found that were different. Rudolph Valentino, yet it was a little deeper. There's a little bit more there and a little bit more, now it's like things are coming out, just like anything else from, people die and estate things get discovered, and scrapbooks and diaries and letters and, deathbed confessions and things like that. It's very interesting how these things peel back. And it's very interesting to be over the decades paying attention to stuff like this, and then looking back and go, man, I was right. I knew all along that guy had something to do with it. You know what I mean? 20 years later, it's like, we're living in some kind of unsolved mysteries world, Steve. And every once in a while we get tossed a bone.
Glenn Dennison, I think that was Chuck Berry that was prosecuted under the Mann Act, but they may have got Jerry Lee Lewis with it too.
I think it was him. I think it was Lewis, wasn't it?
I know they got Chuck Berry with it, but they may have got Jerry.
Chuck
Lee
Berry
Lewis
too.
Too. Hey, there's Lee, First Floor Audio. How you doing?
I met
buddy?
him. Hey Lee, how you doing?
Chuck Berry.
I told you, man had huge hands, long ass legs. He looked like a human spider.
Saw him at the TVA&I Fair, the Tennessee Valley Agricultural and Industrial Fair in Knoxville, Tennessee, probably late 70s or something like that. He put on a show.
Yeah, buddy. But I mean, his legs and arms are so long. If a daddy long leg spider was a person, it'd be Chuck Berry.
Yeah,
that's what isn't that what he looked like? If he would stand like he looked like a spider, good old daddy long legs.
And then he'd do that duck walk with his guitar and bob his head. He was something to watch too.
All right, so yeah, Fatty Arbuckle. We've got him. We've got, let's see who else we've got here. We've got a few that surprised me, and a couple, like I said, deeper dives that surprised me a lot too. because we've done a few of these, and we've gone in several different windows and kicked in some doors too, haven't we, Steve?
Yeah,
we've done like Haunted Hollywood, and Peg Entwistle jumped off the sign, the Hollywood sign. We've done all kinds of different CeeLo Drive and Helter Skelter and Sharon Tate and Roman Polanski, and
there's
that
another
whole
one.
shebang.
He's the one
Charles
that they kept
Manson.
out of the country. He fled to France, I think it was.
Yes.
Saying
yes.
They caught him with
Over
an
another 13-year-old girl, right? Wasn't it another 13-year-old girl? I know. What's his name was involved in one as well. What is this with the 13? What's his name? Oh, crazy son of a gun. The Shining. Jack Nicholson.
Jack Nicholson, yeah.
It was him and what's her name? Daughter of a director, Houston, Angelica Houston. She's almost told the whole story.
John Houston.
He killed her. He killed her. And Angelica Houston is, almost told the story, because I think she was in the house when it happened. And it was one of those kind of mysterious, unsolved crime kind of accident things that happened. There was a lot of cover up and some chicanery going on. Very similar to the Natalie Wood thing with Christopher Walken. And what was her husband's name? That narcissistic jackass. What's his name?
Which one?
She married him twice. She was married to him when she fell off the boat next to the supposedly getting in the dinghy.
Robert Wagner.
Wagner. Yep. Where everybody's like somebody had something to do with it.
Yeah,
well,
Christopher Walken was on the boat with him the night that all that went down.
And
they just
the official
been together with Brain Scan or something like that.
I believe the movie was called Brainstorm. I think.
I was close.
And they were co-hosts, and they went out to eat, and it was one of those little nooks off of a pier, where you go and have the restaurant, you take a little dinghy from the yacht and you go eat dinner kind of thing. And they were drinking a lot. And the people in the restaurant said that they were having a heated kind of discussion before they left. And it was Wagner.
I don't think Robert Wagner, like that Natalie Wood brought Christopher Walken.
Right. And he said that some said that she was flirting with him, and that's what pissed Wagner off. But others said Wagner was flirting with somebody else. And when they got on the boat, the only one that was there was the captain and I believe one crewmate. I could be wrong about the crewmate, but I think he was there. And he started letting a lot of his story go over the, a couple decades here.
A lot of scandals, a lot of cover-ups, all kinds of BS.
So it's no different. I mean, each way you can, you can turn. And our friend Jim, that's what I wanted to say too. Jim Wyrick, who I think you're going to have on your radio show in the near future coming up.
Yeah, I've got to get back a hold of him. I'm going to have what's her name?
Lynn MONOE.
Sorry to say Allison Moyer, but that's somebody else. But Lynn MONOE is going to be on with me soon. I got to get in touch with her and see when she wants to record.
Yeah, but Jim has a way. He gets EVPs, and sometimes as a hobby, he'll go to famous cemeteries or whatever, and he'll put the recorder down next to the gravestone and talk to the person and see if he can get anything back. And he's talked to some pretty interesting people, supposedly, and I trust Jim implicitly. But again, is it that person? But he sat and talked for quite a long time with Natalie Wood. And again, do I think she's there? No. But I think being near something that she would kind of be attached to so strongly, and then trying to connect into her energy with the right intent, yes, I believe it can happen. Wouldn't you, Steve? Because it's just like anything else, being at Ford's Theater and talking to John Wilkes Booth, or whatever. So
in the gift shop there, you want to know what they were saying about him.
Exactly.
An actor always wants to know their press, even in death, I think.
Yeah, and it draws in that that energy, you're connecting in. I mean, I don't think it's as quick a connection in that thought energy and thinking about that person. But, I've told you too, is when I'm doing one of these stories and digging deep, sometimes I can feel the person. It doesn't happen every time. But I think Lon Chaney was one of the strongest ones, So it gets a little crazy. Sometimes it takes me a while to do some of these stories because, wow, I try not to connect into the baddies. You know what I mean? You have to block that stuff because can you imagine, Steve? It's like you're sitting there writing a story on Charles Manson. I don't want that guy. Guess who's coming to dinner? No, thank you. You know what I mean? So, anyway, I tried to dig up
as
some.
Nietzsche wrote, when you peer into the abyss also peers into you. And that's true. You dig into especially some of this true crime stuff. And the same with a lot of the missing people, some of the ones with a stranger nature or whatever, they get stuck in your head. You have to go watch fail videos or funny cats or something for a while.
Everybody's here giving Robert Wagner. Yeah. So the thing is the scuttlebutt is, and again, I'm just repeating what I heard. I mean, I certainly wasn't there, but all combined was that she was a little disgusted because she walked in on Christopher and Robert getting a little too close, and she was going to leave. She was appalled and she was going to leave and jump, maybe wrestled around the dinghy, hit her head, and then drowned. But she did have a fear of water all her life. She hated the water, and her mother was a real stage mom when she was very young. This is way before. Now think how young she was when she did Miracle on 34th Street. So her mom was pushing even before then and got her in a bunch of stuff. And they made her do a scene where she was drowning in the water. And she said it was the worst thing she ever did as a kid.
Yeah. And she was also in Rebel Without a Cause with James Dean, that famous scene up at Griffith Park Observatory. Yeah. It's funny. This is kind of synchronistic, but last week on From Beyond, my UFO channel that I have with Lee G, we had Brown Dwarf on. He lives in LA, and we were talking about a lot of this stuff. And then I had him on the radio this last weekend, and we were talking more about all the haunted places in Hollywood and the Dearly Departed tour and the Hollywood Death Museum and all that. There's a lot of scandal and
I can imagine
ill-fated demise.
I'm trying to get Tattoo Biker on here. I keep sending him emails. I got to get him to pick a date, come on here and tell some stories. I want to hear more about the gray man with the weather and all that kind of stuff. So when he gets to feeling better,
I had him
froggy, I need to get him on here.
Did you hear that episode on the radio?
That was great. Yeah, I listened to it. That's why I said I want to talk more about that gray man. Because, he comes and supposedly he shows up and your house will withstand the hurricane, and it's happened over decades.
Yeah, that's
that whole stuff.
Hatteras Island, I think, somewhere like that.
Which one? I think
Hatteras
so.
Island, I think.
North Carolina. So.
It's on the Outer Banks.
Yeah, I think this is it. All right, you ready to see some bean footage here? I tried to pull
beautiful bean footage.
I tried to pick out some different ones that I hadn't here, or it didn't help. What didn't help? What happened? Pull the podcast over. Oh, she had a pathological fear of water. Didn't help. Didn't help putting her in water. Wagner offer. The studio didn't want to lose all 3 stars. Wait a minute. Hold on. Let's sort this out. Natalie was... Okay, wait a minute. Go back one. Okay. Natalie was told as a child that she would die in dark waters. Yep, exactly, Vixen. 100%. She had a pathological fear of water. Yes, she did. Are you saying Wagner offed her? The studio didn't want to lose 3 stars. It's highly possible. And it was probably possible more like, I can see more of a wrestling kind of. I would have liked to see what her upper arms look like, or, or she had any kind of defensive wounds or something like that. But I dug into that one pretty deep at one time. But again, garbage in, garbage out. If they're not giving you the truth, then, it's not going to fit their narrative. Yeah, hey, Trusty, welcome in.
Trusty Turnip, how you doing?
So, yeah, I tried to dig on a few. Now, a couple of these I had heard, but I didn't have some of the details I was able to pull up. So I got really lucky, and I found 2 old documentaries, maybe 3, from late 70s. So forgive the sound. I've worked on the sound as much as I can, but one of them's got like a little bit of a hum in the background because it was probably on an old TV or VHS. But it's like a throwback. So, but it's not that bad. And then another one from 89 about Hollywood scandals, and some of the stuff in there, you get your normal ones like your Superman, which again, I don't think he committed suicide. I've never believed he committed suicide. And he was having death threats like a couple weeks beforehand and things like this. Listen to the little details here, because again, this goes in our category of any kind of true crime or missing person case or ghost story or a haunting that we're trying to debunk, or a sighting or a UFO thing or whatever. And also, I want to tell you 2 things before we get started.
Hey, Mods
Hoover
King.
House. I wanted to tell you before when I brought up Jim that Hoover House is been in put into a contest. There's a radio contest there in Pennsylvania, South Pennsylvania, where they are, and it's best new business in the tri-state area. And they got nominated. So please, if you can help this out, and I'll tell you why. If you're in the paranormal, you're into this whole genre because you care and you want to help. This is a household where spirits go. They really do go to meet. And they help other spirits that are on the other side connect in with the living that are here, to the point of, and I do believe this, that they will do things to get those people to come there. Or once they start heading that way, do stuff to kind of guide them to that direction. And even if it's like they're just going to Gettysburg, they come down, to Waynesboro for whatever reason to meet somebody else or whatever, and wind up at a table tipping and hear from grandma. And grandma's been trying to get through to them for 30 years or something. It's an amazing place. So if you care about it, and it's not going to cost any money, just takes a couple of minutes out of your, day. If you can get in there, once you get in it, you can do it real easy and vote every day. Just like we voted for Kat that time, same type of deal. You can vote once a day and it's absolutely free. Let's put this business over because they get a couple of things that they could use to boost the business. They're trying to create a paranormal community down there where people can go, and if they're a tarot card reader or a pendulum reader or a person who sells metaphysical things or a crafter, artisan, band, whatever, or a paranormal group, they're very rooted in all paranormal investigation. They're creating their own equipment. Steve's very big on that. The berries that's like their passion, that and hot rods. So help them out and get them over the hump, and let's see if we can get them to win. And if one of the mods that go into my Facebook, if you can, while I pull this up, and drop that link, and if not, I'll do it during the tape, and get in there and just let's get them over, because that's one thing you can do to help the living, the dead, and a good privately owned business. It's owned by 3 wonderful groups of people, couples.
Cisco. Hey, Bunny Rabbit.
Thanks, baby. And I appreciate it very, very much. Yep. And that's, and one more piece of business tomorrow night.
Oh, wait, I can't drop it. I'm not a mod.
Oh, you can't. Oh, what are you doing? Not a mod. What are you coming in as, a Hmong or?
I'm in this Missing Persons Mysteries.
Okay, hold on, honey.
Hey,
let
Mr.
me look.
Woods.
Drop something so I can see it. Missing Persons Mysteries. Drop some bacon or something. Hey, Bunny Rabbit, welcome in. We're about to start. We just been visiting. Hey, Mr. Woods.
Just
please, guys, hit the like.
Blocked my link.
I really need the help. There you are, baby. Okay.
Channels. There you go.
Pardon me while I give in the field live field promotions here. There, you're a managing mod now, baby. You can bake 2 dozen at a time. All right. So I tried to dig up some good stuff, but here's another thing I'm always trying to do for the channel. Sometimes during the week, I'll drop an old radio mystery and we'll listen together in the chat. We have a ball. Because don't we, guys, when we listen to that stuff and we hang out and try to guess what's happening and try to solve the crime and stuff?
I was asking you earlier, do you have any of those old CBS Radio Theater mysteries with E.G. Marshall?
Yes.
I love that man's voice too.
Yeah, lots of them. So, and we'll put them up. We'll talk to us. There's a lot of ghost ones, and there's a lot of missing, mysteries, and sometimes like Sherlock Holmes detective ones, and Mike Hammer kind of, Sherlock Holmes. And so we have fun. So what I decided to do is last week, Steve, and you didn't even know this because we were having Valentine's week, and I was on my feet all day for days upon days, like you wouldn't believe. Yeah, so but what I did was I pulled our interview with Keith Linder and the Bothell Hell House. It was a 2.5 hour interview. And I played it last Wednesday, and we sat and listened to it. New people got to listen who never got to hear it before, and what an amazing case that was. And then I reached out to Keith. Keith wanted me to say hi to everybody. He's doing great. He was currently celebrating an anniversary of his company, and was out in the Florida Keys, so he's doing fine. And he was a big old smile, as Keith always has. And I want to get him back on the show to tell you how things have happened and developed. There's another book, and there's more evidence. And Steve and I are going to get him back on. And somebody else who's I'm trying to get back on now is Mark Shaw, who worked with Melvin Belli. He's a fantastic attorney. He was a consultant for, consultant for every major news channel you can imagine.
Had on in a while is, and I just lost his name, the guy that does those incredible EVPs, does the haunted history thing.
Michael Laciano.
Yeah. We need to have him back sometime.
We're going to get him back too. But this Wednesday, I'm starting my Mark Shaw JFK assassination. Now, this is going to be huge. It's going to take me a while. And the way I'm going to do it is like, I'm going to treat it like it is spider webs. And it's like one of those spider webs that if you ever went into an old barn and you saw all those webs that were kind of together like a spider web quilt, that's what the JFK assassination is like. So I figured it's a great idea to take you guys through the door that Mark walked through, because the first time we got together, we talked for 3 hours, an hour on before, recorded 2.5, 3 hours, and then talked an hour afterwards. And I actually talked him into writing the book on Marilyn's death, because I said, it's connected, Mark. You've got to dig there, and then we'll go to the Connollys, and we'll go to the party of the Connollys. We'll dig there. And Nixon was there. He just went to the meeting for Pepsi, and anybody was at that Connolly house the night before, LBJ, all of them. So I'm telling Mark, go in that door. So of course he went in through Joe Kennedy, the dad, and Dorothy Kilgallen, because she was the reporter who knew Kennedy, and Ruby, and Melvin Belli, and so this is all the connections. So we're starting that Wednesday. So what I did was I took the interview with Mark, who was just audio, and I put all the pictures with it. So join me Wednesday at 8:00. This Wednesday, come up tomorrow, right? Tomorrow, Tuesday? Maybe it's Tuesday. Well, look on there. It's up already. I think it's tomorrow night at 8:00. So be there. I'll be there in the chat. You're going to love it. If you like conspiracies, there's none other than the JFK assassination. You're going to love this show. Okay, so there we go. Steve, anything else before we get started? Hit it.
I'm good.
I need some hot water. Here we go. I forget who the first one is. You know who that is?
Yeah.
Maryland. Boy, they put old Judy through the ringer, didn't they?
Boy, they did.
And Jim.
James Dean.
Found out lots of stuff about him.
Jimmy Dean.
When the news hits that a star dies, millions may mourn. In our world of mass communications, movie stars have become part of our national...
Guys, that's as loud as I can make it. Put in the headphones if you can't hear it.
Usually, suddenly, without warning, we receive the news that a star has died. After the death, we begin to hear stories about the
Polanski.
Star, sometimes deep, dark secrets, which have been held back from the public. We learn of unhappiness, heartbreak, and torment that was so carefully hidden behind the glamour and glitter of the silver screen. Sometimes the final chapter of a star's life is played out in public. Dangerous behavior and bizarre acts are eagerly reported by the media. We watch and read with
Robert Wagner.
And we're not totally surprised to hear the news that a star...
Tyrone Power.
It's almost as if the act of dying itself was like a final film performance.
Poor Steve McQueen.
Many of these men and women have paid the price.
Monty Clift.
Some having tragic lives filled with unhappiness, anger, hidden sexual desires. For some, drug addiction. And finally, the ultimate price, an untimely death.
The late Marilyn Monroe.
I got to stop just real quick there. I got to tell you that, listen, they literally had to sew her into that dress. And then they put her through the fact that because she was always late, and, if you've ever heard about that, the last movie she did with Dean Martin and Some Like It Hot with, what's his face, and Jack Lemmon. And was it Jack Lemmon? Now I'm all botched up. It was Jack Lemmon, wasn't it? Jack Lemmon and
Tony
all right,
Curtis.
help me out, chat. But yeah, she started getting late. Tony Curtis, yep. She started being late around then, and by the time she got to the one she was doing with Dean, where she was naked in the pool, she was late all the time, and she'd get fired from off set and stuff. But the whole point about this, why I brought this up, is at this point things are so hot. This is JFK's birthday, obviously, at and there is Peter Lawford, who married, if you don't know, a Kennedy, a cousin, or I think it was a cousin. And he was quoted as saying, look, he's part of the Rat Pack, but he was a hanger-on. He was more like a parasite kind of dude. And he said, all I want to do is get drunk and cheat on my wife. And I mean, all of these guys were like this. Sinatra, and, Dean was the only one I think that was really faithful to his wife. Went back to the hotel and ordered milk and would call his wife every night. But he had that persona, right? Well, so did Marilyn. When you see her coming up on that stage singing happy birthday like that, not only did she allow them to make her a butt of a joke and, the late Marilyn Monroe, she hung back there to appear to be late, and Lawford goes and looks for her and she's not there in the spotlight and comes back and mumbles some kind of apology and plays it off. And then she comes out, she comes scooting out in this skin tight dress and sings like that to the president. Marilyn Monroe, her best role was playing Marilyn Monroe. That was not what she was like. That's not what she was like. She was extremely smart. She would read all the time. People would go home, work all day on the set and go home or go to the bar. Marilyn would go to acting lessons and learning different languages and, go into elocution lessons. Like I could use a few. And, things like this. She just didn't quit. Trying to prove herself, right, Steve? And I thought I would tell you that because you're going to hear a lot about Marilyn coming up in the future with the JFK stuff I'm going to do. So right there, that's something to remember, guys.
The Hollywood the public usually gets to see is really a mirage, created by the giant motion picture studios, hiding scandals and covering up controversy to protect the star, their most valuable commodity. For years, they have guarded their dirty little secrets well. But behind the gates of Hollywood, there are true stories. More compelling, more bizarre, more shocking than anything Hollywood ever put on the silver screen.
Rudolph Valentino, Steve.
Rudolph Valentino, forever remembered as the Sheik, was America's first screen idol. He swept the nation's women off their feet. Born in southern Italy in 1895, Valentino came to America when he was 18 years old. Attracted to the bright lights of Broadway, he became a cabaret dancer. And by 1917, found his way to Hollywood and the movies. His suave good looks, charm, and grace jumped off the silent screen. He flaunted his exotic sexuality and perfected the image of the anti-hero, and it drove the ladies wild. In fact, he enjoyed showing off his body so much that a Chicago Tribune editorial writer called him a pink powder puff. Well, this led Valentino to challenge the writer to a boxing match. On screen, he was dashing and self-assured. There were, however, rumors that in his private life he was impotent and was attracted to domineering women. These rumors were never proven.
I'm going to tell you right now, something like that was going around. It's like he likes it kind of rough, like, domineering women. Because the thing is everybody put him as such a man's man. It doesn't look like that when we see it here. It looks silly and funny and moves fast, and the makeup looks silly. But he was the bee's knees back in the day, right, Steve?
Oh, yeah.
He was the shit. Women just like the Beatles. It was like the Beatles all in one person, if that makes any sense. He had that effect on the women. So it's kind of funny to hear that.
His adoring fans couldn't get enough of him. He was greeted by thousands at every stop he made. When the news was flashed in 1926 that Valentino was dead at the age of 31, his female fans were sent into a wave of shock and hysteria. And that hysteria grew. Crowds massed near the Broadway funeral home where Valentino lay in a bronze casket. The police were finding it harder and harder to control the thousands of people jamming the streets. Women fainted and riots broke out. Valentino rumors were everywhere, including that he was stabbed or shot by a jealous rival. Some fans refused to believe he was really dead.
Hi, sweetie. Hey, Bobby.
Hey, Bobby.
Dummy in the casket. The unglamorous truth is, Valentino died of This statue, entitled Aspiration, is erected at his gravesite. There is even a popular tune sung by Rudy Valley to honor his passing, while the mysterious lady in black leaves flowers annually at his grave until 1951. And as a final tribute to the screen's greatest lover, a condom is named after his most enduring image.
I never knew that.
I did not know that either.
How about that? The Chic. How about that? There you go. So think. Now we've got W.C. Fields. Now, we talked a little bit about him in the beginning, but I got to go back to Rudy for a second. I think one of the saddest things was they had all these rumors of his death being it. Of course, someone that big and that on a pedestal and that larger than life, it would have had to have been murder or scandal or whatever. And as it turns out, it was complications from a minor natural thing. What did they say? It wasn't appendix. It was
perforated ulcer. There
you go. So, I mean, it just didn't seem like something that small could take him out, you know? But now W.C. Fields, there's quite a bit here. But like I said, back in the day, his main thing was to act, a lot of people came on and act drunk, like Red Skelton. And I don't know, there's so many. Steve Allen wasn't acting drunk, but there was so many.
Foster Brooks.
There you go. Oh, he was huge. He was huge. And even Dean would do that. But W.C. Fields wasn't acting. And they said that he would go into a bar and have 6 drinks before he'd start working. And they said he was never a problem. He never had a problem remembering lines or fulfilling his, duties as an actor or anything like that. They said, I've never seen anybody drink like this. So W.C. Fields, everybody.
W.C. Fields was born
I'm going to get some hot water, guys. I'll be right back.
Life wasn't easy, and after a fight with his father, he ran away from home at the age of 11. He rambles around the country doing odd jobs, finally winding up in vaudeville and then to the Ziegfeld Follies. In 1915, he began to appear in some silent movies, later moving on to his first talkie, The Golf Specialist, in 1930. Here we begin to see the Fields persona emerge, a man who hates kids and loves money. This echoed his real-life characteristics.
5 years old.
Will you give me $1 to put in my bank?
I'll give you $1 to put in your bank if you'll sing me a song.
Give me the $1 bank.
You're more than 5. Go and get out of here. Come on, slam. Who's Craig? Get away.
I don't care. I got $50 in my bank already.
You have $50 in your bank?
Yes.
Oh, I'm very kind. But of course I can be cruel if needs be. Oh, a veritable tiger.
An associate of Fields was once quoted as saying, with sarcasm, any man who hates small dogs and children can't be all bad.
I'm going to lay this out to
Watch this, Steve. Watch what she does. Look what she does.
Do you play?
Oh, no. I wouldn't even know it.
She gets his pants wet.
Oh, but you do know something about it.
That's Fields.
The irascible Fields not only got in trouble with the Hayes office, the official Hollywood censor.
Oh, here we go.
This risque 1932 short, The Dentist, but real dentists all over the country protested as well.
This won't hurt you much.
Early Fields feature International House in 1932. The cast got more than they bargained for. Along with the stinging insults from Fields, they got a real live earthquake.
Young man, you probably saved my life. Now, what can I do for you? Take us to Shanghai. Shanghai? Yeah. What's the matter? Earthquake. Yeah. Quick, get behind, folks. Everybody walk easy. It's all right now.
Hey, Sarah, Claire.
In 1935, Fields abandoned his normal film character to play Mr. McCalber in David Copperfield, for which he won critical praise. MGM originally offered Fields the role of the wizard in The Wizard of Oz, but WC wouldn't travel down the yellow brick road with Dorothy unless he was paid $100,000. The film's producer, Mervyn LeRoy, balked at such an outrageous amount. Fields canceled his trip to Oz and went on to make You Can't Cheat an Honest Man.
Towels aren't big enough to dry your face on. Maybe you better use less water. Quite an idea, yeah.
What a man.
Must see me sometime.
Oh, yeah, I'll do that, my little chickadee.
In the 1939 film My Little Chickadee, Fields was teamed with Mae West. Not only did the sparks fly on the screen, but Fields and West carried out one of Hollywood's most legendary feuds off the set as well.
Have you any last wish? Yes, I'd like to see Paris before I die. Philadelphia will do.
W.C. Fields had a distrust of banks. It is believed that he had over 700 bank accounts in different names spread out all over the country.
Ladies and gentlemen, today we honor a man who has been an inspiration to our citizens, a model to our youth, the eminent Egbert South, alias W.C. Fields. We honor him for the fine example he has set as a husband and a father, and above all, for his heroism as a bank dick.
This is a great line.
That gun loaded?
Certain enough, but I think you are.
Fields was a notoriously heavy drinker. He disliked coffee or even water.
That's a great line. Did you hear that?
I couldn't quite make out what he said.
The little boy's got a gun, a little 6-shooter. He's playing cowboy, right? And he's like messing with W.C. Fields, so he's choking him, right? And the kid's pretending to shoot him, and he says, "Is that gun loaded?" She said, "Certainly not, but I think you are." That was the whole thing. He was drunk all the time, and this is the way he looked. This alcohol, too much alcohol, will do this to you, folks.
Gin blossoms.
Yep, I thought that was a great line, though.
Preferring hard liquor. He loved martinis and was quoted as saying, "That's the way I get my vegetables, onions and olives." On the set, he insisted he couldn't do his best unless he had at least a half dozen drinks. Amazingly, he never gave a bad performance no matter how much he drank. By 1946, the drinking finally took its toll, and on Christmas Day, he died in a Pasadena sanatorium.
Oh, what are you doing? Just as I was getting some of my money back.
W.C. had left instructions in his will for cremation. However, he lay for almost 2 years in an unmarked grave.
Unbelievable.
Several relatives fought over his body and searched madly for the 700 missing bank books.
I bet they did. He was laughing all the way to wherever he went. So that was, I just thought that was really funny. He wasn't in really big scandals. The big thing with him was all the feuding with Mae West back and forth, but even the best friends, good friends with them, thought that was all an act that they just kept up. You know what I mean? They were both pretty cheeky monkeys, right, Steve?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I wanted to ask you this. You know how they said he died in a sanatorium? Now, that's one word that's always really perplexed me, because I've heard things like solarium, where it's like really like almost like a greenhouse for people with plants all around to sit and just bake, whatever if they're an insane asylum or whatever it may be. Could be a hospital, could be a rehab of some kind. It could be anything, but sanatorium I've heard, and sanitarium. Are they insinuating that he was like in you know, home for the internally batshit crazy, or are they saying that he was, you know, just hanging out like in a hospital,
I don't think it was
convalescing?
the sane or insane part, but more it was sanitary, because usually sanatoriums, you think of things like tuberculosis.
Okay. Okay.
And according to Google, it's a historic name for a specialized hospital for the treatment of specific diseases, related ailments, and convalescence. Sanatoriums are often in a healthy climate, usually in the countryside. So just kind of a place to go and convalesce.
Yep. Yep.
And
So again, because you hear it, like you said, like with TB, something along those lines, but you'd also hear that if it was like alcoholics, whatever, I'm sure at that point he was getting DDTs and all kind of mess. So that's what I was wondering, you know, so more than likely it was cirrhosis of the liver and probably some kind of, you know, mental difficulties. Let's put it that way. Here, one of my favorites. Looky here. Looky here. Looky here.
Bela Lugosi.
This was something.
Bela Lugosi first played the role of Dracula on stage in 1927. His real name was Bela Blasko, and he was born in Lugos, Hungary, a town just 50 miles from the real Transylvania. The son of a banker, he studied acting in his native country. A matinee idol, he starred in scores of plays. He was even cast as Jesus Christ.
That is the most disturbing picture I think I've ever seen. I don't know what it is about this picture, but that's the creepiest I've ever seen Belly look. And I don't know what it is. There's something. I don't know. I don't like it.
After playing Dracula on Broadway, he later went on to star in the classic 1931 screen version of Dracula and immediately became a worldwide star.
I am Dracula.
Universal was preparing its next major horror film, Frankenstein, and because of his success in Dracula, Lugosi was the obvious choice to play the Frankenstein monster.
It's alive!
Lugosi turned it down, saying he disliked the makeup and the lack of dialogue. A young British actor named Boris Karloff was chosen for the role, went on to become a greater star than Lugosi. This haunted Lugosi, who had to share the limelight with Karloff for the rest of his life.
This is a cute part coming up. You're going to like this. It's very rare to see this. Look at this.
I'm ready, Frankenstein. Let us begin.
How about that? That little cheeky stuff.
You understand, Bela, don't you? That the one who wins this little game of chess is to lead the parade at the film stars' frolic. Okay, buddy. You move. Right.
In 1938, Lugosi got to play.
Wasn't that great?
Intentionally.
That was just super. I'd never seen that. Have you? If I have, I've certainly forgotten it. You know, but again, when Steve and I were little, I don't know about you guys, and watching these guys scared the living shit out of it on Saturday. I mean, after cartoons, if it was a rainy day and you couldn't go outside. Yeah. And you couldn't go outside and you were like, oh gosh, I hope Channel 11's got something, you know, and you go out there. Godzilla or something, or Abbott and Costello meet, you know, Frankenstein or whatever, or Dracula, and you know, and they got Bela Lugosi for that, and that was a last minute thing. And I don't know if it's in here, but I've been looking at so many of these. I don't know which ones I grabbed and which ones, you know, slipped through the cracks there. But I was watching one that had a bunch of these, and it was about groups like that got together, like Lewis.
Martin and Lewis.
Thank you. Martin and Lewis and Abbott and Costello. And there was another bunch. I think it was, it wasn't the older ones of the Keystone Cops. Who was that? That was Laurel and Hardy.
The Marx
I don't think it was. Yeah, it was one of them. And every single one of them broke up over money. Every single one of them. They started out as friends, real close. You and me against the world kind of stuff. We're going to be a great team. And then it was money and fame that ripped them apart every time. And Martin Lewis, I think, was the one that lasted the longest. And I remember when that was going on and there was all this like scuttlebutt behind the scenes. I think it was like 20-something years they didn't talk to each other. And they, you know, somebody like talked to me.
They reunited. Yeah, Jerry Lewis used to do the Labor Day telethon.
Yeah.
Dean Martin walked out, and it was just a Kodak moment, as they say.
How about that? I mean, just this stuff is so interesting, and you know why it's good to listen to, and not so much of haha yet nanny boo boo kind of stuff, But the thing is they pretend so much that they've got everything, and the hard working, poor bloke out there, or woman out there trying to hack it out of the world today and pay bills, and see all these people strutting in their diamonds and their Gucci and their Rolls Royces and their fluentness. This has been going on forever, and now it just seems it's odd and funny, because looking at all them and seeing how human they are and how many mistakes they made, and how the especially then, and I would assume now it's even more so, where the production companies and the whoever they were under contract with, whether it was MGM, probably one of the worst, Universal, whatever, they ran your life. They told you whether or not you could have a kid. I don't know how many young actresses had abortions because they said you can't have, it'll ruin your career. You're under contract. And broke these people, fractured their very souls,
The studio system, when you signed on the dotted line, you signed over everything.
Yeah, it's like joining the military. Judy Garland, they pumped that girl up on amphetamine and cigarettes. She lived on soup broth and cigarettes, basically, and uppers and downers. And she wound up destroying her life. She was an alcoholic and a drug addict, and so was her daughter. Her daughter was on set. The first movie she ever did, Liza Minnelli, she was 3. It was called Meet Me in St. Louis. She was married to the director Minnelli, and she came down in the parade carrying the baby like it was, it was part of the story with her and Van Johnson, I think. And the baby she was carrying was Liza Minnelli. And Liza Minnelli was, her cheese slid off her cracker early, Steve. Yeah. I mean, that cheese that cracker never saw that cheese again. I'm telling you. I mean, she did some good stuff. I mean, she was big in cabaret, and she could dance and she could sing, and she was quirky and she was interesting to watch. And, but nobody ever denied she was batshit crazy. I don't think so, Steve. Did she ever have a lucid moment? I don't think she did.
Not that I'm aware of.
Me? I don't mean to be mean. We're just telling the truth, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
we're just being honest here. Just a couple friends hanging out, shooting the shit, and there you go.
I remember being on Mike Douglas. I was like knee-high to a grasshopper, and I can remember Liza Minnelli being on there. She was crazier than Yoko, and Yoko was Chuck Berry when she was on. Did you ever see that?
I've seen that clip.
Chuck Berry.
They had to cut her mic.
And it wasn't enough. Chuck Berry, the faces he was making, he's turned around going, holy shit. I mean, it was funny. And she's just, and John's just smiling, playing guitar, looking at him. And I don't know if that was, he'd just been so MK altered, if they did something to turn him inside out there in India and never came back the same. I don't know what they did to him out there. They were smoking more than opium and ayahuasca and shit. I'm telling you. They never came back right after that. Once they all went and discovered India and LSD and all that stuff.
Maharaji or whatever his name was.
Right. They found God. Came back and did the White Album, met Yoko, and that's all she wrote. And then people started dying for some weird reason. The little piggies and all that. Listen, I'm talking to an author right now that wrote a book called Chaos, and I don't want to say who it is right now, but if you're familiar with the book, you'll know who it is. Getting him to come on, because he's got a whole nother approach, very much like Mark Shaw, going in a back door through Dorothy Kilgallen and all that kind of stuff to the JFK. He's got a way, does the same thing, but him and Bugliosi, Vincent Bugliosi, I can't say his name, Bugliosi. Talk about your batshit crazy. I mean, I'm telling you what, man. And this guy goes into it. It fits right in, Steve, with what we were talking about with Laurel Canyon. And the author who wrote that book about all the Laurel Canyon stuff and all the connection into the military and MK Ultra and all this mind control and LSD, the whole shebang.
They gave him cancer and killed him.
Same deal. Yes, they did. And same deal. This author goes through it through the Manson killings and gets very deep into the Sharon Tate, talks about the tapes they found in the rafters in the attic. You heard about that.
Yep.
And it goes back into and brings in everything I've been talking about with the Satanism, and it's all connected. It's all connected. And I just wish people would be more like that, where they could take in this information and look at it and the whole picture and go, oh, it does fit. Snap, snap, snap.
And,
they spend so much time arguing that
back
one
in the
kid
70s or 80s, Maury Terry, The Ultimate Evil, that book, he tied it all together too with Manson, Son of Sam.
Yep. It was all 3-letter agencies playing puppeteer to see, if they could shift the narrative and the thinking of the college age
and it worked.
People that were in college at the time, and they're doing it again, and they do it every time, and it works every time, and you can see the push and the shift, and that's the whole thing. Timothy Leary, the music, the whole thing. And then they turned around a couple decades later and they did it with the rap music and the urban, I'm telling you, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. You can't unsee it. It's incredible. And they did it here too. They did it back then too. So crazy. The 3-letter agencies, they've got their hand in everything. Trust me.
Role opposite the legendary Greta Garbo in Ninotchka. Although he received favorable reviews, it didn't get him any more mainstream parts. By the 1940s, major studio roles were becoming scarce for Lugosi. Needing to make a living, he found himself working on low-budget thrillers for what were called the Poverty Row Studios, such
Poverty
as
Row
PRC and Monogram, who were exploiting his identification as Dracula, playing mad
Isn't this awful? Look at this.
Lookalikes with only a slight change in the costume, like the addition of a hat, or by calling.
I remember this stuff. Do you?
Oh yeah.
Studios.
With the hat and the tux.
Called Lugosi back to play the role he had originally turned down over a decade before, the Frankenstein monster. With Karloff gone from the role, the film was now actually part of a B-movie series, starring Universal's hottest horror actor Lon Chaney as the Wolfman. Once again, Lugosi found himself playing second fiddle. Lugosi returned to the Poverty Row Studios, appearing in a series of incredibly low-budget potboilers.
I remember this one too.
By today's audiences.
I do.
Oh, shit!
And that was the Bowery Boys.
Yeah, those were good too. Hunt Hall and
I loved all of those Bowery Boys. Dead End Kids, loved it.
Back to the majors, but it was for a minor role.
And then coming up, Ed Wood Jr.
Yes. Great. Oh gosh, the memories, right?
After years of low-budget films, Lugosi yearned for the chance to star in a major film once again. In 1948, he got another chance. Universal was
Here we go.
Abbott
Listen
and
to this.
Costello Meet Frankenstein, also
So good.
featuring the Wolfman and Dracula. It was Lugosi's big chance to play the Count again. But Ian Keith, an actor with little horror film experience, was slated for the role. After persistence from Bella's agent and a bargain basement salary, Universal hired Lugosi just before filming began.
Just before.
Out of a nightmare, the vampire Batman, Count Dracula, played by Bela Lugosi.
Count Dracula sleeps in this coffin, but rises every night at sunset.
Iconic scene.
That's right. This is awful silly stuff.
And it would have been not the same with anybody else.
Nope.
No. Dracula never ends. I don't know whether I shall call it a fortune or a cause, but it never ends.
Well, some people, fellow, would consider that a curse, and some would consider it a very good omen, because probably as a result of Dracula, you
make a living.
I make a living.
Success was short-lived. He did only 2 minor films in the 5 years after Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. He resorted to a vaudeville-style stage
Great,
act
Bat.
and
Look
some
at that.
minor TV appearances.
That's fantastic. That stuff would scare the shit out of me as a
Lugosi
kid.
was found by exploitation director Edward Wood Jr.
There he
with
is.
whom he would make his last films, including the incredibly ludicrous Glenn or Glenda, also known as I Changed My Sex, starring
What?
Bella and featuring director Wood himself as a tortured transvestite.
What?
Yeah, you never seen that?
No.
I saw them at the World's Worst Film Festival in at the Tinsel Theater in Knoxville years ago.
Blew my mind.
Leonard Linda and
Blew my
from
mind.
Outer Space.
Take the girl to my quarters.
Hey, Froze. Welcome in, babe. Hey,
Rose
KK.
Moments, how you doing?
That the 72-year-old
KK girl, hi there.
committed himself to a Los Angeles hospital for treatment of drug addiction. Lugosi had first become addicted in the 1940s to relieve
I
leg
have.
pain, and became heavily addicted after his fourth wife had left him.
The one with the
Rescued
nuns,
from a hospital and nursed
Sarah,
back to health
yes.
by his fifth wife, Hope Leninger, Bella
True
came
story.
back to star in The Black Sleep. This film, released in 1956, featured Lugosi along with veteran stars Basil Rathbone and Lon Chaney.
Yes,
His next
it's
film
very
was
true,
going to be
Froze.
produced by Edward Wood and was originally titled The Vampire's Tomb. Lugosi
This is the
once again
cheeky
donned
stuff,
his
I
Dracula
remember.
cape and began shooting scenes for the film. On August 16, 1956, after less than 1 week of filming, Lugosi died suddenly of a heart attack. As per his last request, he is buried in his Count Dracula outfit.
I didn't know
It was
that.
reported Boris Karloff, while attending the funeral, looked into Lugosi's coffin and said, "Bella, you're putting us on."
I find a coffin much more comfortable than a bed. Many people do so, my dear. Is it so strange that I accept one while waiting for eternal rest?
But the story wasn't over. Edward Wood was determined to use the footage he shot of Lugosi and rename the film Plan 9 from Outer Space, hiring his wife's friend, Dr. Tom Mason, to double as Lugosi. Unfortunately, Mason was much taller and looked nothing like Lugosi, and spent much of the film hiding his face behind a cape. Considered by many as the worst film of all time, it's a sad end for Bella, being impersonated by a 6'5" chiropractor.
Man, I'll tell you, Steve, I did not know that they buried him in his Dracula outfit.
His Dracula garb.
Right. I just love this.
And
this
that's
guy.
right. He was the best Dracula. He's what I think of when I think of Dracula.
I do too. And he should know that, and he should rest easy knowing that we remember him that way, because that Abbott and Costello movie would not have been the same if he hadn't slipped in there at the very last minute, to get that role. And I think that was almost like Hollywood good karma, and that was what most of those clips were from, is the Hollywood Shocking Secrets Exposed. There's quite a few more, so I saved some good ones too for the sides that we can do this again and visit all of them, because they're really cool. And that's that one. So what was your favorites out of that one, Steve? I think with me, it's knowing that he was buried like that. Huh?
Yeah, for the Lugosi part, yeah.
And I think
that's what he wanted. That's how he wanted to go out.
I think W.C. Fields is 700 bank accounts. I enjoyed that one as well.
And the condom being named after Rudolph
the Sheik. The Sheik, very, very, very good. And that's always intrigued me too, where that was always a big story about the woman in black that always came to visit his grave. And then 1953, it finally stopped. See, it's so sad. Just the story alone.
She probably passed away, but
yeah, I mean that's what those legends are made of. Legends are made of things such as that. Nobody ever talked to her. Nobody, she would walk away. She wouldn't, I mean, it's one of those very mysterious but understandable, and it was probably who was it? They said that went to her funeral.
Somebody, that was carrying the torch for him after all those years.
And showed up in his funeral with a $13,000 dress, and that's what in the 20s, right, or the early 30s.
Yeah, $13,000 in that era.
That's a happy chunk of. That's a lot of rubbers. That's a lot of rubbers, Steve. I can guarantee you that it's a lot of rubbers. All right, here's another one. I'm going to get some more hot water and a little more funny, honey. I love y'all. And now, what was y'all's favorite? While we're listening to this, what was your favorite fact that you never knew before? Like I said, W.C. Fields and the 700, and the fact that they I always thought about that with like people with the hidden gold mines or the deed to, you know, the silver mine or all those different legends like that, or the hidden gold buried in the mason jars in the backyard, nobody can find it. I wonder if people don't do something like that, you know, just, and they're laughing from the other side watching people go crazy looking for this shit, you know. You just know W.C. Fields got a kick out of it.
Yep.
Yeah, no two
And he
ways
probably
about it.
had like $5 in each account or something too, just to wind people up.
Yeah. There's people like that. I mean, oh my God. Like the guy, like the millionaire, you know, 20 times over or something, to leave nothing to his family, leave everything to, you know, the local animal shelter or some kind of, you know, just to get everybody. Love that stuff. But it's like, why not? It's your money.
You see, this
Oh,
is
this
my life.
woman is a nut.
It always
I hope
will
this is
be.
the right one.
There's nothing else. Just us. The cameras. And those wonderful people out there in the dark. All right, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up.
I don't think this is the right one. Isn't she crazy? Look at her. She's serious, man. Look at her. Is this it? I think it is, but I think it's the wrong copy. Give me just a second. Let me find it. We can watch a little bit of it. Yeah, this is it.
Just I'll be right back.
All right, honey.
Everyone loves a good mystery story, especially ones with several suspects, numerous motives, and a solution that you can only guess at the very last moment. Hollywood has given us hundreds of them through the years, but among the most baffling are those that have never actually made it to the screen. These are the mysteries that involve the people who made the movies, stories that span the entire history of motion pictures, and whose solutions we will try to find through the course of this show. They all began with the same common denominator. Each has a victim, and each victim was seduced by the dream machine's own publicity to come to Hollywood to find their fame and fortune.
Ah, Hollywood. You'd better be getting yourself a good husband and stop mooning about Hollywood.
Where am I?
In Hollywood, the land of magic.
Why, what would you do if you did go to Hollywood?
I'm going to grab off some old guy with lots of dough.
I'm going to be, well, maybe not a star, but a real actress.
Hollywood had no problem when it came to making the dream look easy, but it took nearly 5 decades before a film was brave enough to begin to show Hollywood's other side.
And teach your friends some manners. Tell him without me, you wouldn't have any job, because without me, there wouldn't be any Paramount Studio.
You're right, Miss Desmond.
The movie was Sunset Boulevard, and Norma Desmond became the quintessential faded star.
Madame is the greatest star of them all.
You heard him?
Norma Desmond represented the Hollywood of the past. She was an actress who couldn't make the difficult transition from silent films to sound. But for some stars of the silent era, they didn't even have a chance to make that transition. Hollywood in the 1920s was going through tremendous growing pains, and it's no surprise that the system eventually got out of control. Paramount Pictures was the first studio to face its share of problems, with one of its players, Fatty Arbuckle, who became headline news. A former plumber's assistant, baby-faced Fatty Arbuckle rose to stardom from the ranks of Mack Sennett's Keystone Cop. His comedy shorts with Mabel Normand were top box office attractions, and his hilarious antics made him an international favorite. By 1916, Arbuckle was writing and directing many of his films, as well as those of other comics, including his friend Mabel Normand, seen here with Fatty at the San Francisco World's Fair.
He was always Roscoe. His friends never referred to him as anything else but Roscoe, never Fatty. I never heard that name mentioned, because Roscoe was a very good-looking man and always looked well-dressed and well-scrubbed, and he was not a pudgy fat man. He was a good-looking fat man.
He was a very happy man. He was a very easygoing person. He enjoyed people. He'd always had a twinkle in his eye. He just seemed to enjoy life.
In 1921, Paramount Studios awarded their superstar a 3-year, $3 million contract. To celebrate, Arbuckle drove his brand new $25,000 custom-made Pierce Arrow to the St. Francis Hotel in San Francisco for a party to end all parties.
Here was this farm boy, Fatty Arbuckle, an overnight success, millions of adoring fans, and there was great paranoia involved with this. In Fatty Arbuckle's case, he became involved in a terrible scandal at the St. Francis Hotel in San Francisco, involved with a alleged rape and murder of a young actress named Virginia Rapet.
She was sort of stood out because we had all heard about her reputation, and it seems that she had a habit of, when she got tight, she used to tear her clothes off. So I think most of us would duck a party that we knew Virginia Rapet was going to be there, but I don't think she was invited to many. I never saw her at Roscoe Arbuckle's house. Never. People didn't realize that this girl, Virginia Rapet, had taken a friend with her. And the friend she had worked for was a madam, had been a madam of a house of ill repute. And she was the one that did most of the talking.
When Virginia died 5 days later from a ruptured bladder, her friend, seemingly looking for publicity, accused Fatty Arbuckle of raping Virginia. Arbuckle was soon charged with murder. Women's groups and moralizers joined the press in condemning Arbuckle. He became a living symbol of all the vice and wickedness attributed to the movie population. In a frenzy of righteousness, Paramount destroyed all prints of his most recent films, and his friends were ordered by the studios not to testify on his behalf.
Some of the people in Hollywood probably could have helped. But there again, money rears its ugly head, and people are not going to invest in pictures if they think they're not going to get their return.
I called Joe Stink. I said, I'd be very glad to appear as a character witness. And they said, well, why? We can't afford it. You're our little money maker. So we don't want you to be mixed up in it, and Roscoe wouldn't want you.
Arbuckle protested his innocence throughout 3 trials and was finally acquitted. But the damage was done. His career was over.
The press had turned on Fatty Arbuckle, and in a sense, the Hollywood film industry turned on him also.
It was the Hearst papers that tore Roscoe apart, which is a horrible thing to do.
And right to this very day, though Fatty Arbuckle was acquitted, people think Fatty Arbuckle raped and murdered Virginia Rapet. A lot of people still believe that he raped her with a Coke bottle, all of which is totally false.
Anybody that could believe a despicable, horrible story like that about Roscoe Arbuckle would have to be out of their minds, because he was not that kind of a person. He was a dear, dear man.
Arbuckle became an exile from Hollywood. He could only get directing jobs by using false names, and eventually had to move back east. It took 11 years for the scandal to die down enough for Arbuckle to be allowed to work as himself in front of the camera. In this rarely seen 1933 short, made in Brooklyn...
I just got to stop it there real quick because they don't like that one as a copyright. That one's actually still in... There we go. Here we go. Sorry.
Heart attack. And he had gone into his bathroom to get ready, and I was in my bathroom. And when I was ready to go to bed, I went in, and he was gone. I was it.
Fatty Arbuckle would not be the only scandal.
That's got to be one of the saddest ones, because that is absolutely the poster child for how, and Anna is right, that Hearst was making a lot of money on those newspaper articles, and everybody that knew Roscoe said that he was not that type of person, that she was having problems breathing or something along those lines, something like an asthma or panic attack kind of thing. He was trying to help her. She was obviously suffering from complications of something internal, and that's what killed her. Why in the world anything started other than that one person that was looking for publicity, and it was, imagine, if you will, there's a lot of scuttlebutt going around, and there's reporters trying to see what happened, and people coming out of the party, and they want to have something to say to the reporters. And everybody knew that this one girl had made that up and said that it was Fatty Arbuckle, or Roscoe Arbuckle. And it went from there. And it's a perfect example of how somebody says one thing and it goes, and it shoots. It's like touching a spinning top, and it just goes off into a direction. It never really comes back. And you can look at any of these mysteries, these legends, these paranormal experience, whether it's just I saw a ghost here in the house, or something as big as like Amityville got, or any other case like that, or Conjuring even. That's another good example. Is they take one thing in the Conjuring, I believe. Now, I'm not as sharp on this one because I never did deep research, but from what I gather, it seems that there was a woman that had the name that they keep saying in the movie and in the story, and calling her a witch, and she hung herself or put a curse here or did some things, and that she's the one that's haunting and the place and doing all this evil. It seems there was a woman that would fit the fact that she was a woman and she would live there, and she probably had herbs in her garden, that kind. And it blew up out of nowhere, same as so many other stories, and it just blossoms from there, and it becomes its own thing. Steve and I go back and we tell stories all the time, and we'll tell a story. Look, this is the way it was told to me. I can't say whether I wasn't there, but I certainly can't discount it, because the craziest things are true, right, Steve?
Absolutely.
Time after time after time, So that's why I think why we're so good at deducing some of these true crimes and some of these missing cases and things like that. But we keep hitting walls with some things. I mean, you can't help it if people put up a wall and they don't want you to know, because you hit a lot of that. I mean, it was 30 some years ago. I was involved in interviews and with fantastic psychic medium, some with some with it. Look, there's lots of different flavors. People with abilities that have been helping police with kidnappings or missing kids or true crime solving, whatever. And they're telling me there's only so far we can go with that case, Cisco, because we hit a wall, and that wall is the people that are supposed to be stopping this stuff from happening, meaning the government. You know what I mean? And different compartmentalized departments of that, and one hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing. Listen, if there's money to be made, I don't care if it's guns, guns, drugs, booty, whatever, at any age, exotic animals. I mean, look, there's a black market for everything, folks.
Yep.
I mean, it's a dark world out there. These movie stars and stuff aren't the only ones who had their hand in a lot of ill-gotten booty, and you know what I mean? So, I mean, even if you're looking back at pirates or anything else. Now, I got some more, but I think we could save that for another time, Stephen, to do this again. I mean, there's so many of them. There's so many different.
We just scratched the surface.
Yeah, so many different scandals and stuff. I mean, your obvious ones, we've gone over Marilyn Monroe, so many times, and I've just been looking at some newly. I don't want to say newly released, but I've discovered them as new, and I've been looking at a Maryland case for a very long time. And that's why I knew about Dorothy Kilgallen, because she was also looking into the Maryland case. I mean, if you can read her columns where she was saying, that things weren't adding up with the Maryland case, little things like, why was her light on? Why was she, why was this? The big thing with me is the lividity, that obviously shows on her body. And if I'm not going to show her crime scenes here, but you can see them, you can go on the internet. And the way that the blood has pooled in her skin is not matching up to the story either. So it was other things like Dorothy was a very, she was an investigative journalist, and I really respect that, Steve. I know you do too.
Yep.
You've known a few, Jim Marrs, we both have admiration for him and the way he handled himself. Oddly enough, young Jim Marrs as a cub reporter, I'm pretty sure you know this, Steve, was I don't know how old he was, young 20s. He was at the Carousel Club owned by Jack Ruby the night before the night before they shot Kennedy in Dallas. So he was right there. He was going to the college. He says he's got a hangover. They've got a picture of him dancing on stage with one of the strippers the night before Kennedy was shot. It's a small world. Yep. So he's hanging out with the Dallas police station and the other reporters, and he knows all these people. So going in his young 20s, Jim Marrs started very early studying the JFK assassination, and of course wrote the famous book Crossfire, and then re-released it with more evidence. Crossfire Revisited, I believe, off the top of my head. But another investigative reporter. There's another one, William Cooper, who I'm telling you right now, I don't know what you've been told lately, and if you know what I'm talking about, but here lately it's been said that a young man over at InfoWars, there went his name. I could see him yelling right now. He's so angry. He makes me look calm. What's his damn name?
Oh, Alex Jones.
Thank you. Alex Jones was the one who predicted 9/11 and said things that were going to happen, to the point where, just like a psychic that says, I know something's going to happen, it says, and then they come after them because they knew. That's your sticky wicket right there. But anyway, he was telling it. There's somebody who was saying it 3 months before, and that was William Cooper. William Cooper did a lot of shortwave radio, I guess you call it, Steve, and some other stuff, and did a lot of interviews with, I don't know, a lot of unknowns like Art Bell and people like that.
Mm-hmm.
I put that stuff out early, so there's evidence, you know what I mean? But see, the thing is credit where credit's due. Research. Don't believe anybody. Don't believe me. Don't believe Steve. Don't believe, and I just mean on stuff that really matters and it's going to affect your life, and things too of history. It's important. That's why I went digging on Elliot Ness so deep. I mean, did you ever, what a life the man had.
Yeah.
And what an incredible thing, and what an inspiration, and boy, what a lesson in time in Steve with Elliot Ness. I mean, he just kept missing the, it's like, I should have struck here and ran for mayor here. No, I'm going to wait 8 years. Now the fires burn out and everybody's Elliot who? Yeah. Because people have but you wouldn't think that's possible. Such a population of the city of Cleveland, Ohio at that time. I don't know what the population was, but it was no, backwoods town. And that amount of human beings completely forgot all the things Elliot Ness did for that town and just got an unknown. Now, for whatever reason, I don't know. I don't know if there was a lot of money push on the other side or some kind of crooked dealings. I have no clue. I haven't studied that. But to just leave him whistling in the wind like that, it's just, it's incredible to research that kind of mess and human behavior and things like that. It's crazy. And it helps us with everything else, like, studying something like that and learning those things help you when you're doing your missing cases, because you can look at it and go, hold on now, this feels familiar. It happened last night with Katie Turner. I love Katie Turner. What a beautiful soul she is. And it's so great to sit down and be able to talk to somebody and not have to explain it because they get it, you know? So we were talking about the mist. We were watching a show, and a guy was telling the story, and it showed the mist with the sparkles that started to develop inside the mist, and it's kind of hanging in midair right in front of him. And I stopped it, and Katie and I talked about it, and I said, that's why it's important to tell the truth and not to embellish and try to get the detail right, because you never know which one's going to be important. When I saw that for the first time, Steve, I about jumped off the couch, because I was like, that's exactly what my mom looked like when she showed up. I guess, I don't know what number time it was, but it was right before I went in the Army, and it was after she had crossed over and she came back different and fixed up, let's just put it that way. She appeared that way. And, we started to talk about pictures that she had where the spirit was in real time, and they have the EVP that kind of matches up with it. Can you see me? Or I'm here. Do you see me? Something like that on the EVP. And it takes the mist and it forms a figure in front of her and her investigative group. And she got a picture of it. And it reminded me of a movie I had just seen. And for those of you who haven't seen this yet, and I think it's it's either a 2003, 2004 version of The Invisible Man. And it's very Victorian Gothic. It's done more like the original Invisible Man story is told. So this is very much the Invisible Man as Bram Stoker's Dracula. That movie version is true to the book. So this is very cool because it shows that decline of sanity into the depths of insanity, and trying to the power and absolute power corrupts and all that kind of stuff. But it also has all this intriguing things of everything that's going on around him. The effects are great. It has a real American Werewolf in London kind of feel as far as the effects and transitions and stuff. So I highly recommend it, because a lot of times I'll turn away from something like that going, they're going to ruin this, but it wasn't bad. It really wasn't bad. I'd put it at like a B+, maybe even an A-. It's hard to find a good horror movie nowadays. So I recommend that one. But, so what do you got coming on this week, Steve?
Yeah, I got more stuff going on over on Missing Persons Mysteries. And see, Wednesday night, I'll have From Beyond, my UFO and related phenomena channel with Lee G and I co-host. I'm not sure who our guest is going to be over there yet, but it'll be a good show. And radio show good. Sunday night, and all kinds of stuff going on.
Sounds good, babe. Sounds good. I'm trying to pull this up. Let's see if it'll come up and I can do that. Yeah, I think I can. So tomorrow night, February 20th. Man, that's pretty bad when you don't even remember when your own shows are on.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can share this screen. Isn't that awful? It's been coming off a hardy week. Let's just put it that way, Steve. A hardy week.
Yeah,
so here we go.
Got through Valentine's Day and all that. So it's
last night I had everybody in the chat guess. I think that was fun. How much do you think a dozen roses in a regular vase? Well, we do nice vases where I'm at, so it's like let's say a Mae West vase, clear vase. It's not those green dozen rose vases, girls. You know what I'm talking about. You got 1,000 of them at the thrift store.
I'd say.
What do you think they're going for? $79. Steve says I'm going to get. There's a time delay, so I'm going to give you all a few minutes to guess. And if you were here last night, don't give it away. No spoiler alert. Yep. And Edna's already got it. Might as well just. I cannot lie. And Edna's already won.
Not crazy.
$125 going out the door.
I bought mine before Valentine's Day, before they jacked the prices up.
Yeah, ours were actually up a week before because the wholesaler jacks it. You know what I mean? We're a small, privately owned, florist. So small family business. So going up against the grocery stores, I mean, yeah, sure, you can go in there and get you. I mean, and they're very, it's coming from the same place. I'm telling you, it's
Roses
not.
and roses.
Yeah, yeah, it's all in the care and how you do it and how it's displayed. It's all 90% presentation. Believe me, if you came in and I did your roses, you walked out with premium freaking roses. 41 years of doing Valentine's Day on my feet. Worst I ever did, Steve, was 20 hours on your feet, making rose after a dozen roses, or these cheesy daggum like 1-800-Flowers, Teleflor kind of stuff. Not that some of it's not pretty, but let me tell you, when you're making 30 of those things, there's not a lot of love going in, So, you know how they make it all is like lovingly put together with the florist hands of, you're just like this shoving it in. And I mean, it's not cheap. Like something like a Thomas Kincaid for Christmas or Mother's Day or something like that. Those things are $150. And some poor schmuck's got all that stuff all over their shelves and dust collect. I've been in this business a long time. I've picked up stuff that I know came out like 1970 FTD or something, a container. You know what I mean, guys, because there's been all kind of collectible stuff, but don't do it. Just get the flowers. Put your money in the flowers. I tell people all the time, look, if she's got vases, I can put it in a wrap to save you $30, or you can get more flowers. But what's it going to be? And they call it what? So anyway, tomorrow night, come and join me. We're starting this. This is no small feat, my friends. This is, again, I love meeting wonderful people like this. Steve does too. There's nothing like it, right, Steve? That's why we do it, because I can reach back and talk to people like Richard Sennett from my childhood. I watched him on TV. I could talk to Mark Shaw at Gettysburg, someone with that kind of knowledge and that kind of input, and just amazing. And then I can reach into something, and talk to somebody who worked with Melvin Belli, sat in a courtroom, on cases like the Kobe Bryant case, the OJ Simpson, not the OJ Simpson case, because OJ was in trouble before the OJ Simpson case, if you know what I mean. He's an advocate for fights for women and the underdog.
All around good guy.
Yeah. And I mean, to be on Good Morning America year after year in the morning, and it's like, tell us about the case, Mark. That's him. To sit down with him and sit one-on-one, because this wasn't, look, I'm no lawyer, but I held my own. And that's what Mark loves about me, is like, Cisco, you know as much about this. And I'm like, look, I read the books, man, because that's a reason you never tell somebody, hey, I read the book, if you didn't, because you're going to look stupid. And I've been studying this for a very long time. And we had some wonderful moments in this. So if you're interested in true crime, in mysteries, this goes, I kid you not, this goes from Joe Kennedy, the poison patriarch, and it goes all the way through how Dorothy is connected to John F. Kennedy and Bobby Kennedy and Maryland. It goes through Marcello in New Orleans, the mob, the Union, the Teamsters, it Nixon, for the love of Pete, LBJ. This covers quite a bit, but it's part one, because it's only the top of the iceberg. So I invite you to join me on this. This is a interview from 2019, the first time I ever sat down with Mark. Then I'm going to add the one where he came on the show live with us, and that one is on Maryland. And I kind of nudged him, and he'll tell you in that interview that, Cisco, you made me write this. And I'm like, I'm so glad, because listen, it's connected. And then you bring in Sinatra, and I mean, look, it's all connected. And I wanted to say, going out tonight, I think one of the most important things is, so I was trying to think of how to explain this and why it's so important. And of course, for all the obvious reasons, it's so important. It doesn't matter. It was 60 years ago. It's us. It's everything that's happened since, and everything they've gotten away with since, because they got away with this. And it's not too late to bring the truth to the surface. So what confuses everybody is I've called it spiderwebs for a reason, because Mark and I were talking, and I said, that's what it's like. And that's what they did. They took, it's it's a neurological trick. It's another kind of way to psyop you, as far as, let's give you some of the facts and then throw in a ton of horse shit. Yeah. And then we're going to do it again. And then we're going to hide the truth, because again, why would you take documents and lock them down for 60 years? Because the people involved in it are alive, who would be affected, and their children.
Mm-hmm.
What did they do that was so bad we can't know about? National security, my ass, 60 years. That's just another word used, these little psyop-y kind of words. So it's time, and again, when somebody comes out with something like this, like Mark with all his books, he's written 6 books on this. This is no, it's not a hobby, let's put it that way. And he has the connections to do, to try to do something. And every time somebody like this tries to do something, something else gets knocked loose. Something else comes to the surface. Something bubbles through the muck and grime and slime and comes to the surface, and people notice it. And then they are that much smarter the next time they try to do something like this, because they do things like this. They do them often, and they do them more than you think. You know what I mean? It's so true, right, Steve?
It is, absolutely.
Right. So the way I was trying to think of it, and I wanted to ask you, with Steve, with your photography experience and things in the past, and working around film and gosh knows how many different ways. There was a thing when you call it, I think you call it a gel, when you have that acetate in between, like Disney used to use all the time to make cartoons. Right? Isn't that what you call it? It's like an acetate. It's like but they call it a gel, but it's really just art on a clear.
Yeah, that's when they're doing animation, and they do there's a different word for it. It's yeah, so it's celluloid, I think, that they drew those things on, where you have the different planes, and part of it moves, and this doesn't move, and that moves, and
right. I was thinking this. It's like I was thinking about the JFK case, and I know so many people, it's some way involved in this, or just studying them through decades. Your Mark Lanes, and just name them off. And so many people have dropped off, and so many people just tried to tack on because they had a little piece of something. And then you've got your people that were pushed forward and sponsored and encouraged and given a narrative to push forward, and that's what you heard. That was the loudest screams. And then you had your people in behind the scenes, like your Jim Mars, and your countless number of people along the way that really told stories. Your Jim Garrisons, your the DA of New Orleans, who fought tooth and nail for this and was laughed, because he could link up Clay Shaw and Ferry and Oswald and the whole trials on that fast acting cancer they were trying to work in for not the government. What? No, they would never, right? Yet Ruby dies in, gets shot by Dr. Jolly West in his cell. And he's screaming in the cell, they just shot me up with cancer. They just shot I'm going to die. I'm going to die a dog in here. This is what Ruby's yelling as Jolly leaves. And it wasn't the only time Jolly ever left a room and somebody was screaming something like that. Trust me on that. He's interwoven all within this. And you hear something like that and you go, wait a minute, what? They were working on a what? Because if you know that anytime somebody comes up with something like, whether it's Tesla with free energy and all this other stuff, or somebody else with a patent of a car that'll run on water, or some other thing, they wind up dead. The patent winds up gone, and you see it come out as a weapon on the other side, used either against, who knows who, maybe you, who knows. But that's also your history, right, Steve?
Absolutely. The victors write the history.
Right. So I was thinking, if you look at this case, and because here's the thing, Steve, you have the same thing in this case as you have, say, you go to a paranormal UFO convention. Now you have a lot of different people meeting in the same room. Some are Bigfoot people, some are UFO people, some are whatever you name your flavor, right? And sometimes they start fighting even within their own group because they're saying my evidence here and this is here, and everything is supposed to be mutually exclusive. And if mine is true, yours can't be true. This is where we have the problem. We have it in the paranormal. We have it within groups. I see it all the time. Paranormal groups that come together. I see, the guy sitting by himself. Yeah, I see the guy sitting at the table by himself who had an experience, back in high school or something, and wrote a book and still sitting here telling about it. But God bless him, because people are still listening and people are still trying to learn. But you've got that, and then you've got these big, look like they're sponsored by rock groups that have some money put in, and they've got equipment like crazy, and they've got 9-foot Darth Vader, mascot kind of things. And it's just like, the wide spectrum, right? And everybody has got some kind of evidence. But again, you start getting into, if mine is true, yours can't be true. Insert your whatever here, whether you're talking about a ghost or a UFO sighting or a Bigfoot versus a dog man or whatever the hell it is. And if we just took our stuff, now this is where I'm going. It sounds crazy, but bear with me, because Lord knows that's nothing new. If we could just write our ideas and our theories in a way on one of those acetate pieces, our own thoughts and theories about whether it's a JFK, let's just talk about that for now. Because there's so many smart minds in this, and I know one right now, and I'll never say the person's name, but is so amazingly articulate on this subject, yet will not accept 3 major points of this, and shuts the door on it and will not listen to it. Because as if this is true, this can't be true. Or this is so irrelevant because this is true and this is how it goes. He's not wrong, but this is relevant, and that's what he's wrong about. And it does change. It changes everything. So if we could get everybody to write that down on that acetate in some way, almost like a blueprint of their theory and their idea and how everything connects, and somehow get these great minds together. And that could be Sally Mae baking cookies back at the kitchen, but she's the smartest, sharpest tool in the shed. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying great minds as far as big names. I'm saying people who've been in this for you, like your Dr. Epperleys. Do you know how many people in JFK would fit that mold? 60 years of study, and lay them all out and then put them on top of each other and look at them with some light and see how they match up. Because I'm so tired of watching people bump heads when it comes to this, because just because somebody, a mob in New Orleans could have been involved in this, doesn't mean that so-and-so on the grassy knoll that's connected to the such and such can't be true as well. It's all connected. It's just that the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing. And, some people got more than one hand, if you know what I mean. They got more skin in the game. So if you did that with the paranormal, same thing, ghosts and hauntings, and put it together instead of going, well, we went there and we heard this, so yours can't be true because we were talking to a little girl and you were obviously talking to an older man. So, instead of realizing that both those things can be true at the same time, they also both could be false at the same time too. But if we could just somehow lay them all the theories on top of each other and look through them and get the whole story, and realize that everybody's evidence is important. And if you lay it on top, it all connects. And I think that's what we've been saying about the paranormal, about cryptids, fairies to angels and back again, Steve.
Yeah.
You get what I'm putting down? You're picking
Absolutely.
up. Because again, it's all connected. And I think that's the way people need to look at this, at the JFK thing. So I invite you tomorrow night. Please join me. I love to hear your theories and your thoughts on this. If it's the first time you've heard this information, great. We have a great conversation. We put about 8 hours information in about 2.5. So you wear a seatbelt. So there you go, Steve. Thank you for being here with me tonight.
No, always a pleasure, Cisco.
It's fun. It was fun to hear a couple. I learned, hey, I never knew the Sheik was named after Valentino. I mean, I guess I wonder if he got a little kick out of that. I know other people were.
Yeah, I'm sure he did.
Well, there we go. Do you have any announcements before we go?
Yeah, I think that's it. Join me Wednesday night on From Beyond.
There you go. And join me again, as I said, 8:00 Eastern for and let me introduce you to
Uh-oh, looks like we lost Cisco. Stick around, everybody. I think she'll be right back. Anybody I didn't say hi to? Ghost Lore, how you doing? Good to see you. Sarah Claire, I think I said hi to you. And Edna, how you doing? Rose Moments. Yeah, not sure what's going on, but hopefully Cisco will be back shortly. Just stick around. Much touch get in my mouth. I need a trim. Can you tell?
Goodness.
There she is.
What in the world's going on, Steve? I don't even know. I hit a button. You know I did. I apologize. All right, guys. Now I got to find that daggum song again. We're going out with a nice little tune. Give Nick my love. Give Mulder my love.
Yep. Got to take him outside here as soon as we're finished.
Yeah.
And,
I need
Nicole says hello.
I need to go outside myself, my friend.
You got to take yourself out.
Yep. I'm going to do it. I hope I don't lock myself out. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, my friend.
Bye-bye.
Good night, Steve.
Good night.
I love y'all. Good night, buddies. Hit the like button. Subscribe for Pete's sake. Do a girl a favor. Love y'all. Good night, gatekeepers.